Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Asante, here to recap AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming, and we start kind of with the main event. The main event was indeed MJF versus Ricky Starks for both the AEW World Championship and the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which I kind of found a little annoying because I think that pretty much sealed the fact Ricky wasn't getting the ring. But first, we wanted to go over both MJF's and Ricky's promos from earlier in the night before we went into the actual match. So we started with MJF's backstage interview with Marvez, where MJF congratulated Ricky on his quote-unquote star-making performance last week, saying that MJF saying that he had been a star since the second he walked into Dynamite, whereas Ricky has had a whole lot of at-bats before he hit a home run, whereas MJF has been hitting a home run since he had walked in. MJF then goes on to say that it's not he who's under pressure, it's Ricky who's under the pressure of having to deliver this big-time moment in his home state of Texas. I believe they were in Dallas this week. And he has to try to finally be able to win the big one in front of, his hometown fans. And then MJF says, we'll see if the pebble will turn into a diamond under the pressure or if he'll crumble and turn to dust.
I hate how good he is. I hate it.
Yeah, it did. Honestly, I was getting a little nervous that was going to be one of the more hit the notes MJF promos in the beginning, because he was talking about Ricky being poor and then all the fans who love him because they're also poor. And I was like, are we just going to do this thing again where he's rich and everyone's poor? But he really honestly turned it around and made it a very good promo. Ricky's promo was later in the night. And unfortunately for Ricky, he had the bad luck of following up perhaps the biggest upset in the last 20 years.
Upset? What are we talking about? What?
Which we will get to later. And I listened to Ricky's promo. I heard Ricky's promo. I couldn't retain any of it. It was good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it wasn't. But I was in such utter shock and just texting everybody about what had just happened that I didn't write a single thing about it. I know he was talking about, being in front of his hometown fans and how he was going to win, but I genuinely don't know what he said. And I feel bad because I can tell you it was good and I can't tell you what it was. And to be fair, he had a follow-up what he did last week, which is probably impossible. So there is that. But let's get into the actual match here. And the match started with MJF playing some mind games with Ricky. Ricky obviously very emotional coming into the match, and Max was taking advantage of that early. But Ricky eventually gains control to the point where MJF actually went out into the crowd to try to regroup, where he decided that he was going to throw somebody's popcorn and then steal somebody's hat and throw it away. And as a noted hat guy, that second one really pissed me off. He eventually came back into the ring where Ricky continued to hold the advantage until MJF cowered in the corner through the ropes. And when the ref came to pull Ricky off of MJF, MJF thumbed Ricky in the eye, and then he was able to take control throughout the commercial break. When we came back, and this was something I noticed right as they came back from commercial, there was a Greg Abbott watches WWE sign. And shout out to that person. I don't know how I didn't see it until the end of the fucking show, but it was great. I was a little distracted by the Takeshita is like the goat sign or whatever that was. But either way, fantastic sign from you, sir, or madam, or etc. Anyway, Ricky starts to come back after both men went down. And something I also noticed during this match, and I think I noticed it during the Jericho match too. I guess when we get to 8 now, we say Ocho. I'm sure that came from the Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
It was, and I loved it.
I'm totally here for that. A little more Spanish goes a long way. Anyway, so both men were down, and the ref was he was hitting the count. But Ricky eventually got up, started making a comeback, hit a Liger bomb, which MJF kicked out of. Max was able to take it back control after Ricky ran headlong into the turnbuckle. And then they have a couple of roll-up counters, which both men are able to get out of, even though MJF grabbed the shorts for his. MJF then hits a nasty backbreaker power bomb, which I love when he does that.
Me too.
And it's one of those things where I'm sure he does it almost every match, but he has so few matches that it still feels fresh and cool. But Ricky is able to kick out of that, and he starts going after his arm and flexing it like he hurt it. Ricky is then able to gather up some speed and hit the ropes really hard before he hit a spear. But because of that bad arm, Ricky isn't able to capitalize until the referee hits 9, where Ricky drapes his arm over MJF for the pin. But MJF had actually suckered him in and locked in the salt of the earth. MJF has that in for a while. He actually used a multitude of submission moves to keep Ricky from reaching the ropes, but Ricky eventually is able to do that and break the hold. Both men get up. There's a little back and forth, and then Ricky goes for the Rochambeau. MJF countered the first attempt. I'm not honestly. There were 2 things in this sequence where I couldn't tell if it was a botch or like whatever. And the first one was Ricky had the pin, and MJF tried to bridge up, and they didn't get it, and then they did it again. And then the other one was this, where Ricky went for the first Rochambeau, but he didn't have the underhooks in, so Excalibur called it as him maybe trying to go for the Liger Bomb again. But MJF countered it, and Ricky wasn't able to get him up. Then Ricky put the underhooks in, got MJF up on his shoulder, but MJF slid off and landed on his feet. And when he does that, MJF grabbed the referee and hid behind him. So when Ricky came over and shoved the ref out of the way, MJF swift kick to the dick, roll up 1, 2, 3, and MJF retains his title and his diamond ring. Now,
Brilliant recap.
Thank you. Now, as Max goes up the ramp to leave, Bryan Danielson's music hits, and he comes out through the tunnel. MJF just fucking hightails it back down the ramp, past the ring into the crowd with Bryan chasing him, but he eventually runs all the way up the stairs and gets away. Bryan then returns to the ring, helps Ricky up, and he raises his hand because Ricky had such a good match. So that was the main event, and the promos. Obviously, I enjoyed this match, even though it wasn't maybe the most sound of matches. Like I said, there was that kind of weird sequence at the end, but even those things felt believable. So I really enjoyed this. I love Ricky. The crowd was very much behind him. They were loud all night. Shout out Dallas. Which might be the first time I've ever said that outside of Dirk Nowitzki. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm a little disappointed in the end. I felt like there could have been a more creative way for Max to cheat to win than just kick Ricky in the dick. But
I don't want to say it ruined the match for me, because I very much did enjoy the match, but it made me think less of Ricky, because this was exactly what happened last week. MJF couldn't come up with a counter for him. He didn't know how to verbally spar with him. So what he does instead is he kicks him in the dick. So,
which has been his move a lot.
It has. But earlier in the match, we see it. MJF uses the referee as a distraction. And what does he do? Eye poke. And then he falls forward again in the same match. Referee is used as a distraction, but at this time, low blow. So it just shows that Ricky doesn't learn from his mistakes, which fine for a single match, I guess. But in this high profile match that is supposedly going to have more eyes on him than any other match he's ever had, this doesn't bode well for his character. Yeah. I'm willing to get past it. I am willing to get past it because it's heel doing heel things. It just felt lazy. It felt lazy, and I agree with you, they could have done more to highlight how conniving MJF is and what he's willing to do to retain the title without making Ricky look gullible.
I would have maybe liked to see something where MJF like tries to go get the diamond ring again and gets caught, and then he brings the brass knuckles back out. I think that kind of would have been cool.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
Stealing that, especially with Bryan coming out after. Just
I agree.
Something more than swift kick to the dick.
Something to really catapult off of the Regal stuff. Something to properly bounce off of that and make everything feel like it's been an actual progressive story.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you too with Ricky. Like, it just does make him look kind of, I don't want to say dumb, but And I understand they were playing up the fact that Ricky's a very emotional wrestler, and this is something he could be suckered into because of that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of a word. Like, there's a word that Meltzer and Alvarez always use, and I can't remember if it's nerd, but like it does kind of make them feel, and it doesn't make him feel like a nerd, but almost like a goober. Like, it's just like, bro, like, what are you doing? It's so obvious what MJF is doing. You have like, especially compared to earlier in the night, which we'll probably talk about more in detail later, in the Brian Cage and Jungle Boy Jack Perry match. There was another ref distraction, and instead of getting super annoyed and distracted with the ref, Jungle Boy just went back at Brian Cage and ended up winning. Like, so they can book these wrestlers as smart people instead of just dumbass baby faces who always fall for this shit. Absolutely. But like the juxtaposition of those two endings is astonishing to me.
Yeah, now this, for a match that was so hyped up last week, something that we were all super, super excited for coming into this week.
Especially after that promo.
Especially after that promo last week. We all knew the outcome. We all knew MJF retains. You know, like I think there was a 0.1% chance we were all hoping Ricky would actually pull off the win. But it was more about what the match would be. And I could tell you that after next week, or after this week, I'm not going to remember this match.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably remember it to a certain extent. Like, oh, remember Ricky faced MJF for the title type of deal. But
exactly, I'm not going to remember the details of this match.
Yeah, we're just going to remember Swift kick to the dick and he loses.
Exactly. No, that's it. Unfortunately.
What were your thoughts though on them? As I said earlier, deciding that the match would be for both the championship and the diamond ring, because I feel like Ricky being able to win the diamond ring would have been a good spot for him where he still gets something out of this instead of just taking a loss. But I was thinking about it all day, not knowing they were going to do both in the one match. And I was like, at the same time, do you really want your champion to take a loss
that's
this early in his reign?
Realistically, they just shouldn't have booked it this way. You know, I didn't care about the diamond ring for the match. I care about the title. And if you're only going to do one match, like, and if you're debating doing more than one match, why even think about having your champion lose? So it's one of those instances. Oh, how do we get out of this? Well, you just don't book it in the first place.
Yeah.
And they booked it like this. So I know I sound very negative. I don't mean to. I thought this was a very well-paced match between two guys who know each other very well and have been friends for a very long time. I think this was a good match. I'm glad that Ricky Starks is elevating himself a little bit, but I think the execution could have been a little bit better, and I'm more excited for what comes next. But even then, I'm dreading it. Brian going for the world title when we're all very aware of the fact that he's probably not going to win the world title.
Yeah, Brian fans are down bad right now.
You know, we are starved for any type of glory, and we're not going to get it for a while.
Yeah, that's fair. And in regards to the match, like, I agree. I think it was a good match. I think we were just expecting more, and that's why we're being a bit more critical of it than perhaps we normally would be. But we were really excited for this match, and it delivered, but it just could have been done better. Like you said, there could have been better execution, especially with the ending. I think if we got a better ending, we would be praising this match to the heavens.
I agree. But unfortunately, the ending of these matches tend to be the make or break for a lot of them, you know, nowhere near the same level, but Roman versus Finn Balor was a great match with a terrible friggin' ending. So we just remember that we don't like that match because of the ending.
Yeah, because Finn got on the deck and flopped like a fish. Yeah. So yeah, that was bad. God, that was so bad. I mean, this wasn't that level of bad, but
no, of course not.
It was like, I think, like it was uncreative and a little bit lazy, for lack of a better phrase. So
yes,
but all in all, I think it was good. I'm like you said, I'm glad Ricky got this shine. and hopefully they're able to capitalize on his popularity right now, but we'll see. All right, let's move on back to the top of the card, where we had match number 4 in the Elite versus Death Triangle. Obviously, Death Triangle coming into this leading 2-1. The Elite started the match strong, but Nick rolled his ankle on a dive to the outside. And I'm going to say this right now because Taz was commenting on them wrestling in basketball shoes and not wrestling boots. As somebody who played basketball for a very long time, basketball shoes have very good ankle support, but the Bucks wear Air Force Ones and they have no fucking support. There's a story of Michael Jordan in his last season with the Bulls. He wore Air Force Ones in his last game at the Garden because he wanted to just do that because he loved playing in the Garden. Like, he dropped 55 there once. And he said at the end of the game, because the shoes were so bad compared to what he wore then, which I think he was up to like the Jordan 11s, that his feet were bleeding. Like, the entire bottom of his shoe was just a pool of his shoes were pools of blood. So I know they've improved the Air Force Ones since 1998, but they are not easy to ball in. I can only imagine how difficult they are to wrestle in. So Nick rolling his ankle here is legitimately something that could have happened. And I was nervous for like a minute until I realized that it wasn't real.
I'm genuinely surprised they've taken this long to run that angle, considering how big they are as sneakerheads.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan ones are they're beautiful, but they are not good to ball in. Anyway, so Nick rolled his ankle and he was pretty much out of commission for a while. So the 3-on-2 advantage for Death Triangle eventually caught up to the Elite, and it allowed Death Triangle to take control, and Nick was brought to the back as they headed into commercial. As we came back, Matt was taking most of the beat down, but he was able to eventually get the tag in after he hit a really cool Northern Lights suplex on Penta while he had rolled up Phoenix, and he pinned both of them at the same time, which was awesome. So Matt was able to then tag Kenny in, and so Kenny got into the offense for a while, but then obviously
before you continue,
trying to turn the table. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. You get so frustrated. I'm sorry.
No. I wasn't getting frustrated. I was just finishing the sentence.
We just got to acknowledge every time Kenny tagged into the match, the pop was huge.
Yeah,
it really was huge, and it's good to see that still a thing. It's good to see that people are legitimately still into him.
I think we're also seeing Kenny is way more to the point of where he was before all these injuries.
I agree.
And I think people are so excited to be like, we have Kenny Omega back.
Yeah.
Not even Kenny Omega, Kenny by God Omega back. You know what I mean? So I think people are just so excited that anytime he does anything, everyone just bugs out. So yeah, as I was saying, Matt tagged Kenny in, and Kenny was able to get in some offense before obviously the numbers game caught up again. And when he was going back to tag Matt, Matt took a fear factor on the apron from Penta. So Kenny was basically out there on an island. Kenny then took a Made in Japan from Penta and was set up for the Black Arrow from Pac, but Kenny rolled out of the way, no water in the pool. And then Nick comes back down from the back, and Kenny tags him in. Nick cleans house, but then when he goes for a super kick on Phoenix, Phoenix catches it, and Penta rolls into the ring with the hammer and takes it to Nick's bad ankle. Phoenix is like, what the fuck? And then locked in what looked like an ankle lock, but like the grapevine when Kurt Angle used to do it and he fell back.
Yeah.
So Phoenix did that, and Nick was forced to tap out. After the match, Kenny grabbed the mic and said, if Death Triangle is going to continue to use the hammer, why don't we just go ahead and make it legal? And asked for a DQ match. Death Triangle seemed to agree. No DQ match. Excuse me. Thank you. Death Triangle seemed to agree, and then Tony Khan later confirmed that match 5 will be no disqualification. Match 6, if necessary.
If it goes to it.
Yes, match 6, if necessary, will be falls count anywhere, and match 7, if necessary, will be an Escalera de la Muerte match, aka a ladder match. So
a ladder death match.
Yes. So yeah, Death Triangle takes a 3-1 lead, and I find that very interesting because this was another good match. It was different than their other ones, which is obviously a good thing. But I'm a little worried here because any of you who watch basketball, especially
Golden State Warriors, bitch.
The Golden State Warriors blowing a 3-1 lead, and also to a certain extent, the Oklahoma City Thunder blowing a 3-1 lead as well, because the Warriors had done that to Golden State the year before in the Western Conference Finals, and that was the meme until the next year when the Warriors did it in the finals. But blowing a 3-1 lead is a huge meme, and it makes you look really bad. So, assuming the Elite win this, are we really gonna put we blew a 3-1 lead onto Death Triangle?
So,
unless we're breaking them up.
I don't know that they're going to break up, but the big thing here has been so let's start with the fact that I very much enjoyed this match.
Yeah, you can talk about the match first too. I kind of just
and I get it. It felt different than the matches that preceded it. And it was different. They treated it differently. We essentially got a handicap match in this match for most of it.
Yeah, which is cool.
I appreciate the fact that they found a way to make most of these matches feel different than each other. Each of these matches has more or less had its own identity. I'm someone who is actually very excited at the aspect of the series. I grew up on series. Like I had the John Cena versus Booker T series for the United States Championship. I know it was something in WCW with Booker T and Redacted Benoit. Oops, I think I messed that up. But series can be good. And of course, we had the great one with Claudio and Sheamus.
Yep, which led to the bar.
Exactly. So I do see the value in series, but I also recognize the fact that when you have a series, sometimes it leads to trying to dig yourself out of bad booking. And I know I mentioned it before. How do we get ourselves out of this? Well, you don't book yourself into that corner in the first place. But I don't think they did that here. I don't think them losing, I don't think Death Triangle losing, hypothetically, the next few matches is going to hurt them. Because I think the story throughout all of this has been how Death Triangle has been handling their matches. Ray Phoenix cheated in that first match. And while we've seen the rest of Death Triangle cheat to win these next two matches, we've seen him show hesitancy, which admittedly feels a little weird considering he was the first one to actually cheat of the trio.
Yeah. Now, granted, he was about to eat a one-winged angel and lose. So it was.
It's okay. So we only cheat when we think we're going to lose.
My point being, like, he only did it in the most desperate of circumstances, whereas Pac and Penta will just kind of cheat because fuck it.
and I understand there is a difference, but beyond that, I think this series is way less about the Elite, and I think it's way more about Death Triangle.
Oh yeah, 100%.
People are focusing more on the Elite, when in reality, is Death Triangle still going to be the Death Triangle at the end of this series? So if they do blow a 3-1 lead, it's not because the Elite were better. They are. But it's because Death Triangle defeated Death Triangle.
Yeah.
So
which actually is what happened to the Warriors. So.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that in a ladder match. Because there's no cheating in a ladder match. So I don't know how you could have like this moral quandary for Ray Phoenix because he's at the center of all this. So it'll be interesting to see how they get there. I have faith they're going to stick the landing. And really, I think we all know whoever wins these titles at the end of the series, they're just going to get fed to House of Black regardless.
It's probably true. Maybe not immediately, but
I would love it if the Elite win this series, win the titles. A week later, House of Black just fucking just destroys them for the lulz. And I'm the Elite guy.
Well, they took Color out already.
Yeah. So good match tonight, different match tonight. Very much looking forward to next week. And I like the fact that Kenny made it seem like this isn't a joke to them. You know, the Elite sometimes get flack for making their characters seem like everything is a joke. It's very clear Kenny and the Elite are taking this seriously now, and I appreciate that character direction.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm gonna go back to you with the arc of Phoenix here, because I understand them making these last 3 matches, if all of them are necessary, you know, gimmick matches, no DQ, false count anywhere, and the ladder match. But like you said, the entire storyline of this series has basically been the heart and soul of Rey Fenix. And you kind of eliminate that when the hammer becomes legal in all of these matches. Right. So it's like you're changing the story here a bit, and it's curious to see, like you said, how they're going to end up playing that out, because him wanting to win the right way kind of goes out the fucking window when all this shit's legal. Now, maybe there's just something to a point where Pac and Penta try to take things too far, probably in the ladder match, where he's just like, I'm not fucking doing that. I'm going to murder him or end his career or something of that, you know, of that nature. And that's where he ends up drawing the line. But I just feel like that doesn't feel as strong as them constantly cheating and then him just getting fed up with it and be like, guys, we can fucking do this the right way. And the other 2 guys just refusing to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm still excited. I am, like I said, I'm enjoying these matches. I enjoyed this one, and we'll see where we go from here. I'm sure these guys in a no DQ match is going to be banana lands. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
And assuming they get to 7, these guys in a ladder match is going to be banana lands too. The falls count anywhere should be interesting, and there better be more than one ref. I'll tell you that right fucking now. I think they've done that before, where we've had a falls count anywhere and they've had more than one ref like follow everybody around. I'm pretty sure, but they should have at least 5. Let's move on from this. We had after this the backstage interview with MJF that we talked about, and then we had the promo for the Acclaimed. And Max's rap was really good, and I know Danny's not here to rate it. He might be in the comments somewhere, so maybe we'll get a number rating out of him. But Max had a Brittany Griner line, which I thought was pretty cool. He had an Elon Musk line about him getting booed, which was great. And I don't really remember the last line, because as he was rapping, Jeff Jarrett and the Slapnuts came out from behind and started attacking everybody. So Billy Gunn went down first at the hands of Satnam Singh, and then Sanjay and Lethal took out Max and Bowens, and then they dragged him into the ring, and Double J broke his guitar over Max's head, and then just said slap nuts for the pop, and him and Lethal were parading around with the titles. So I guess that's our next feud for the Acclaimed. Cool. That's all. Literally, that's all I got for that. It was what it was.
I don't know why you do this feud unless you actually plan on making Lethal and Jarrett the champs, which is bizarre.
I don't think they plan on making them the champs. I think they plan on them losing, but
and that's fine. But why have Jarrett come in to lose 2 feuds in a row when it's supposed to feel like a big deal that he's here in the first place? Do I think it's a big deal? No. I think it's insane in 2022 he's here, but it's not a big deal. But they treated it as such, and now losing the first feud to Sting and Darby, and now losing the second feud to the Acclaimed. There should have been a feud in between for both of them, I think.
Probably, yeah. Him just coming in and losing a bunch. I mean, I get like wanting to put guys over, but still.
Absolutely. But they could have
win something.
They could have beaten a jabroni team, and like I love Top Flight. Have them beat Top Flight in a mini feud.
Yeah, or the Varsity Blondes if you want to bring them back on TV.
Are they a team still?
Actually, I have no idea. They've been on Dark and Elevation for so long. I'm not 100% sure if they broke up or not. Which is kind of sad. But Yeah, I agree with you. It's just even weirder to me that they're just gonna make Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal a tag team now. Y'all bitch about Franken teams all the time. This is an odd one. I get the alliance to try to take out Sting and Darby, but going for the titles is weird to say the least. All right.
Total nonstop nonsense. Not total nonstop nonsense.
I would say I'll think of a good one in a minute. Anyway, let's move on to the backstage interview with Jericho Appreciation Society. Jericho has obviously lost his Ring of Honor championship to Claudio on Saturday, and Daniel Garcia lost the Pure Championship to Wheeler Yuta. Good stuff. So Jericho is very pissed off, and he said that the giant swing is barbaric and should be banned, and that he's going to kick the ass of some jobber in a tune-up match for his rematch with Claudio for said title. Schiavone then turns to Garcia and asks him about losing the Pure Championship, but Jericho interrupts and says that Garcia shouldn't have lost that match to Wheeler, and he needs some more mentorship. So Garcia is going to be shadowing Sammy Guevara for the next few weeks. Sammy hops in and says that this will start on Friday when he faces Jon Moxley. And so much for the BCC versus JAS feud being over when they literally just made 2 more matches between those 2 teams.
So I don't
the next few weeks.
I don't think Jericho versus Claudio is happening.
Oh, because he flipped the shit.
Yeah, I don't think that match is actually happening. I think that was like I think in kayfabe that was the plan for him, but I think those plans are now derailed, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I don't think he's actually going to face Claudio now. I do think that. I mean, I know that Sammy versus Mox is happening on Friday.
It's probably happening now.
Right? But I don't think we're actually getting. I don't think we're actually getting the rematch. Thank God.
That's cool, and it makes sense. And yeah, like you said, thank God we're all done with this. Just let it die, kill it if you have to.
I am happy that they're doing stuff with Garcia again, but I feel like the Garcia Sammy stuff would have been so much better if it happened during like the dissension storyline, where it looked like he was going to be leaving for the BCC, unless they actually now plan on breaking him up from the JAS. Which, why did we go through all this?
Just to do it again.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's a good question. Also, I don't want to leave out the most important part of the promo, which is as it was ending, Hager yelled, "I like this hat" for no reason.
I really wanted on the record, I did very much enjoy tonight's episode of Dynamite. I know it sounds like I didn't because I've been complaining a lot.
Yeah, right.
But I really did enjoy the show.
Yeah, this was a good show. I mean, and especially considering it's one of these themed episodes of Dynamite. Yeah. Winter is Coming, where they tend to have some, big shit go down. It was good. I mean, I wasn't, the biggest of episodes were like when Sting showed up at the original Winter is Coming, but
or when Kenny won the title.
Yeah, when Kenny beat Mox. But
yeah.
We had a title match, which a good one at that. Bryan Danielson, came back. I know he hasn't really been gone, but he's been gone for a couple of weeks. I thought we had some good stuff. And obviously we had the big thing with Jericho. I think that would be the biggest thing.
That's the highlight of the show.
Yeah, but it was a really good show. So please don't take our criticism as bitching.
Yeah, no, please.
Except about the BCC JAS thing. I mean, like I said, kill it. All right, let's move on to Jungle Boy Jack Perry, as they are officially announcing him again, versus Brian Cage. Obviously, this match stemmed from Jungle Boy eliminating Cage during the Dynamite Battle Royal the other week, Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal the other week. Also, Jack's neck is all messed up from the choke slam he took from W. Morrissey, who I guess we are officially calling Big Bill.
They needed something to remind us he was Big Cass, isn't it? That's it, right? I
guess. I didn't even think about that. What you said last week about this sounding like a JR thing, it's just stuck in my head now, and that's all I could think about.
I just don't like it.
Yeah, me neither. I like W. Morrissey was cool enough. If you want to call him William Morrissey and then make his nickname Big Bill,
I agree. But I don't want him announced as Big Bill.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. Honestly, it sounds like a cartoon character in a kid show.
Yeah.
Like the bully. Like, oh guys, Big Bill's coming, like everybody scatter. Anyway, Jungle Boy got his ass kicked for most of this match until about the last 2 minutes when he started finally getting some offense in. It ended with Jungle Boy countering a fireman's carry into a pretty sweet Canadian destroyer that Cage kicked out of. But then Jack is able to lock in the snare trap. As he's doing that and Cage starts tapping out, Prince Nana, who was out there with Cage, jumped. He was up on the apron distracting Aubrey Edwards. So she didn't see it. Eventually, Jungle Boy releases the hold to go after Prince Nana, but Aubrey holds him back. And then Cage grabs him, standing switch, another standing switch. And then Jungle Boy shoves Cage at Prince Nana. Cage has to hold up so he doesn't knock Nana off the apron. And Jungle Boy gets the roll up for the win. After the match, Jack grabbed the mic and called out the biggest bitch of them all, Big Bill. Again, are we serious with this name? But instead, Stokely comes out, talks some shit, called Jack a hoe, and then Jungle Boy ran up the ramp to go after him. But Lee Moriarty came out of fucking nowhere and tackled Jungle Boy and starts beating him down, followed by Big Bill. They throw him into the ring. Bill delivers a massive choke slam. And then while the trio is standing over him, Hook's music hits and he comes down to the ring. The firm ends up clearing out. And Hook helps Jungle Boy up, and they seem to acknowledge the fact that they're going to be in this fight together. So the match itself was cool. It was just, like I said, a lot of Cage just beating the shit out of Jungle Boy and Jungle Boy overcoming the odds. But smartly at the end, like I said before, he wasn't a stupid babyface. But I think the more important thing here is we're getting a Jungle Boy and Hook alliance for a while, which should be a lot of fun.
How random.
It is kind of funny that the two guys who didn't really talk, I know Jack talks more now, but in the beginning he doesn't talk, and now Hook's the guy who doesn't talk. It is kind of funny that they are teaming up.
I'm all for it. They're two young guys with a lot of upside. They are going to drive the women crazy, the men too, I'm sure. It was
Wrestle with the Package is going to have a lot of fun.
We don't endorse them here. I promise. We're Wrestle with the Plot.
Wrestle with the Plot's dead.
I know. I'm not even going to say the other one.
They had a lot of fun the last couple of days, but we'll talk about that on the pod. Yeah. We'll talk about it on the pod.
I'm excited for what comes next. If you're Brian Cage, do you prefer to not be on TV the way he was for a year, or are you okay with losing every week on Dynamite? I don't know. Well,
I mean, he did just win a title in Ring of Honor.
And how great is that? He just won a title to lose on Dynamite. Come on. God, I really am complaining tonight, and I really don't want to. But
it's so weird. We're more nitpicking than we are anything.
We are. I guess we are channeling Eric, but it was a good match. I'm enjoying Jungle Boy showing more personality on his own. Sometimes a little of it doesn't feel too him. It sounds like a kid putting on a tough guy act, but he's good at what he's doing, and I appreciate it. I'm gonna flip a shit if Big Bill loses the match.
I don't think he'll get. I assume Moriarty will get pinned.
I assume so. I mean, maybe he'll beat Moriarty and then he loses to Morrissey. Why would he
I just figured it'd be a tag match, and I
guess that makes sense. That makes sense.
And Moriarty ends up taking the L there. So, assuming that they want them to win, like you said, they might actually want the firm to have a W under their belt,
which would be lovely. But are we really going to give Hook's first loss to the firm?
Fair. Also, yeah, he doesn't have a loss, period. Not even even if he doesn't get pinned, it's still his first loss. I don't think they want to do that at all. So good point. Yeah, I'm taking it to the bank. It's motherfucking Moriarty is going to eat the pin here, and that's how this feud's going to end. But cool. It's one of those things, the firm is just so mid to borrow a phrase, that I feel like when they like end up in a feud, it's just like, okay, like they're here to lose, and that's cool, and like we're getting this cool team up out of it, but like other than Jungle Boy and Hook being together, I don't care about the other side of it.
I know. I am a Morrissey fan. I see so much potential with him, and that's again because I watched him in Impact and I saw what he could be. But we haven't gotten any of that in AEW yet. We just haven't.
Nah, he's just a tall guy who kicks the shit out of people.
Exactly. And how does that separate you from Hager? Really,
or Satnam Singh.
Very true.
It's a good point. He hasn't done anything to stand out.
Yeah.
So it makes it difficult.
I'm hoping this is a good showing for him. In all reality, I would love it if he just separates himself from the firm and he's his own guy. But who knows? We'll see what they do with it. But Hook being back on TV is awesome. That's the big takeaway here.
Oh, I love it. Mostly because I get to hear more Action Bronson.
And it's not on Rampage. It's on Dynamite.
Another good thing.
I'll take these wins.
All right. I would like to shout out Chad in the chat saying that Big Bill does have a Looney Tunes ring to it. He's absolutely right.
That it does.
It's like, I will hug him and squeeze him and name him George. That guy could be Big Bill. Let's move on. We had a backstage promo with the BCC. Mox says that they made a small statement over the weekend, winning the 2 titles and him choking out Takeshita, which was a good match, by the way, on Rampage. And that in 2023, they're going to continue to dominate. And then Claudio and Wheeler said some stuff. And then Mox said that Hangman knows where to find him, and he might want to bring his Dark Order friends if he wants to fight. After that, we had a promo package for Swerve Strickland after the events of Ring of Honor Final Battle, where he walked out on Keith Lee. He says that him and Keith will have their talk next week, and that he doesn't have any friends or family in this business, only associates. So I think what happened when that was like Keith Lee accidentally decked him and Swerve walked out the way Lee walked out on him at Full Gear, right? So
the only difference is Lee still won the match.
Did he really? Good for him. I didn't know that. I didn't know all the results of Ring of Honor. Honestly, I kind of wanted to watch it, and I just haven't had a shot. But
well, my bad then.
No, it's cool. Like I don't mind the spoilers. I was spoiled for half of the card anyway. So, but that's awesome. I do, but I think I am gonna watch it. So if I don't know all the results, that's why. Anyway, after that, we had the House of Black versus the Factory. I think new entrance for the House of Black.
It feels like an updated entrance.
Yeah, it was still cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, in the stare down before the match, Nick Camarado stepped to the House of Black, and Julia Hart stepped to him. And after Camarado threw his lollipop stick at her, she hit him in the face with the mist, which was awesome. And the beatdown began. They just beat the holy hell out of the Factory, including a nice "I am the table" moment with Buddy Matthews trying to put it. He hit a motherfucker with another motherfucker, but those motherfuckers didn't go through the table. And then QT Marshall was the last man standing. So the House of Black surrounds him with Malachi in the ring. The bell rings to finally start the match. QT decides that it's best to, die with his sword instead of on his shield. So he runs at Malachi. Malachi hits him with the kick. 1, 2, 3. House of Black wins. Game over.
I'm loving what they're doing with them. They legitimately feel scary. This type of stuff makes them scarier to me than any of the promos they cut backstage, any of the theatrics that they do, because they feel like a pack of dogs. Like
wild dogs.
Malachi didn't have to do anything. He sat in the ring and watched as his beasts just devoured the opposition. And he got up and attacked them because he wanted to. I love that. I love that. They feel intimidating. They feel threatening. They feel powerful. And again, yes, it's the Factory, but it doesn't matter. This is just who they are. So again, I know I joked about whoever wins the best of 7 is just going to get fed to the House of Black, but I think that's a reality. I think that's a very real possibility, and I'm all for it. The fact that the last time we saw them as a trio was September 4th, it's crazy. It's crazy. and they don't feel like they've missed a step at all here.
No, actually, they probably gained one because they're all healthy.
Exactly.
Taking all that time off. Malachi and I think Buddy had a couple of problems too. Like they all took their time off, got healthy. Julia Black looks cooler, I feel like.
Yeah, she feels like she's not pretending anymore. It feels like she's just slipped into the role finally.
Yeah,
and I really like it.
I think I mentioned this last week. It's because it's Brody and his wife took her shopping. It's exactly what it is.
That's it.
Yep. All right, let's move on. We had a promo package for Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida next week for the AEW Women's Championship, which is hype. Shida had beaten the Bunny on Rampage to defend one of her 2 Japanese titles. I don't remember which one, and earned a shot at Hayter. And then we went to a backstage interview with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rebel, not Reba. Britt starts by saying that Shida will never beat Hayter. It's not going to happen. And then she's interrupted by Sky Blue, of all people. Sky Blue been getting a lot of TV time lately. Good for her.
Good for her.
Sky asks Britt if she's as good at wrestling as she is at running her mouth, which seems like a stupid question because Britt was the champion for a really long time. And anyway, she says that since neither of them are doing anything on Friday, Britt should try to prove that she is as good at wrestling as she is at running her mouth against Sky, and Britt is just absolutely flabbergasted that Sky Blue interrupted her and just storms off being like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll have the match on Friday. And now we come to the most important part of the show.
Is this how we're ending our coverage, or is there anything after?
We had Ty Mello versus Ruby Soho.
Can we cover that first?
Okay,
I feel like we should end on the big stuff.
All right, we will come back to that. So after the most important part of the show, we had the Ricky Starks promo, what we mentioned earlier. Then we had a promo package from FTR. They fought the Briscoes at Final Battle in a double dog collar match for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. They ended up losing that match. It was a bloody mess from the highlights they showed. And
being
after,
touted as a match of the year candidate.
And which is why I want to fucking watch that pay-per-view. Right. After the match, the Ash Boys jumped them from behind and beat the shit out of them. So they're pretty pissed and they called them out. Then we had something with Chris Jericho. And then we had Ty Mello versus Ruby Soho. And before this match even started, as Ty and Sammy were making out on the stage as they do, Taz goes, I think they just shared lunch. I fucking lost my shit. And commentary did too. I think they all hit their cough buttons and just started laughing because they were silent for like 30 seconds. And Taz had to start talking again because he was the only one not laughing. And you can hear Excalibur as he started talking again. He's still like giggling and he's trying to keep it together. It was amazing and it completely overshadowed the rest of the match. But as Taz says, I digress. Ty went after Ruby before the bell. And I should note, this is Ruby's first match back since she had reconstructed. Yeah, she literally like destroyed her nose. She had to get reconstructive surgery. And it was against Ty as well. So hence the match. So yeah, as I was saying, Ty went after Ruby before the bell. Ruby was able to gain an upper hand for a minute before Ty threw Ruby into the steps. And then she gains the advantage. They roll into the ring. The ref asks Ruby if she wants to start. Ruby's like, fuck yeah, dude, ring the bell. And so ref rings the bell, but Ruby kind of suckered Tay in and she was able to hit a suplex and no future. But Tay ended up rolling out of the ring. And it was Ty, excuse me. She rolled out of the ring and started to leave. Ruby followed her up the ramp, but Ty caught her and then hit a DDT on the ramp. And then we went into commercial. Eventually, Ruby is able to gain control and she gets Ty down and goes for the cannonball senton. Ty rolls out of the way, so Ruby rolls through. Ty gets up, hits a huge big boot right to Ruby's nose. The surgically repaired nose of Ruby Soho, Michael Cole voice. And then Ruby kicked out. Then Ty sets up Ruby for the Ty KO, but Ruby counters, knees Ty right in the fucking nose. Turnabout is fair play. Hits Destination Unknown for the win. Then after the match, Anna Jay comes storming down, somehow without Ruby seeing her. She takes out Ruby from behind and then drops her straight on her nose. So I guess rhinoplasty is going to be a serious component of this feud. But it was a good match, though. I liked it. I like Ty. I'm glad Ruby's back. Good shit. Yeah, and you got nothing for me on this.
I'm happy to see Ruby back. It's interesting. Like, I don't know why, but in my head, I was like, okay, so it's gonna be a tag match, Anna Jay coming out to help Ty. Oh, just one of the Riot Squad will be here to help Ruby. And then I forgot that Sarah is now back in WWE. I'm sorry, Valkyrie is back. No, It's not Valkyrie. It's Valhalla. Oh my God. Valhalla is now in WWE.
They probably couldn't use Valkyrie because of Marvel. Or maybe they just didn't want to.
I don't even know. But
I forgot she was back. I was just like, yeah,
you don't watch SmackDown at all.
That's fair. But like, I was about to say, isn't she at home taking care of her kid? And then nope, she's back.
She's just whatever. And I don't know who will be her backup in this. I can't think
Ortiz. Maybe Willow. In all honesty, I know Willow's been beefing with them for a while. She's been beefing with them for a bit. I think she just beat Anna recently as well.
Who hasn't beaten Anna recently?
I know, sad. But I think Willow will be that. But yeah, like I said, this was a good match. I'm happy to see both of these women on TV, all three of these women on TV. And it was good stuff. And we continue the feud. After that, we had a backstage interview with Hangman Adam Page. He's still trying to get cleared by doctors to wrestle again after his concussion he suffered accidentally at the hands of Jon Moxley in their AEW World Championship match a few weeks ago. So Marvez gets all up in his face while he's getting checked and asks for an update. And Page actually cuts what I think is going to be a really underrated promo.
I agree.
About when he was coming to in the ambulance and they were asking him questions about, where are you? What's the date? And, like, what were you doing? And he started getting them right. He got the date right. He's like, oh, we're in Cincinnati. I was just fighting Moxley for the World Championship. And then they're like, oh, you have a bunch of texts and phone calls on your phone. Do you want to check them? So they give him his phone. He hits the unlock screen and his son's on the phone. And they go, oh, your kid's cute. What's his name? And Hangman couldn't remember his son's name for over an hour. So Hangman says, that is what hell is. So if Mox wants to fight him on Friday and take him back to hell, then he's going to drag Mox back down with him. So I thought that was, honestly, it's probably true, but I thought it was an unbelievable promo, especially taking you through how frightening having a concussion to that level is, where you come to and you have no idea what's going on. And to top it all off, you had fucking Uno in the back trying to explain the whole tense situation, which I also thought was phenomenal. But like I said, James, I think this is going to be end up being a very underrated promo.
I agree. I think there's a part of me that wishes they didn't do it the way they did, where he was backstage, being checked out, because it feels so low key for something so important and for something so powerful. But I get why they did it the way they did. I hope it doesn't get glossed over in the long run because of how good it was. And it reminds us, because it's easy to forget how good Hangman is at getting fans to get behind him. It's why we fell in love with him on his rise to the world title for actual years at that point. And he's definitely fallen by the wayside a little bit after losing the title to Punk.
Yeah.
And I hope that this feud with Mox, which it certainly feels like it is a reset for him. I feel like this is going to set him back on the right path. And more than anything, his Dark Order buddies, there's 3 left at this point?
Yeah, honestly, Mox said that, and I was like, does he know what's going on over there? Like, 2 of them are not in the company. One of them, I think, just quit. So it's literally Uno and the Beaver Boys. Like, I don't think there's enough people.
I guess it's enough for the BCC.
I guess, yeah.
I don't know if the three of them are enough for Moxley on his own.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that enough? I mean, the numbers are even at 4-4, but I don't know, man.
It would be ballsy to have Bryan go against Hangman once again.
Oh,
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. There's no benefit in having Hangman lose to Bryan again, or vice versa, really. Just keep them apart.
Hangman didn't lose to Bryan.
He did eventually.
Oh, in the tournament. Yeah, right. In the tournament. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but it's what is he? He's 1-1-1 against him, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
1-1-1.
Right,
so, which is why I'm saying neither should take a loss right now.
It's literally the most even booking you can get.
Exactly. I'll take it. I'll take it. For Bryan, that's a winning record at this point.
God, that is unfortunate.
It really is. But going back to that though, how weird is it that again, like they're very clearly setting up unity amongst the BCC, but once again, Bryan is on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were just trying, at least hopefully for this week, for the surprise of him coming back and chasing MJF. And then hopefully next week we see them together, or at least maybe not all of them at the same time, but just Bryan interacting with one or two of them in some capacity.
I definitely hope so, because again, it just feels so two major feuds with nothing to do with one another. It does feel a little weird, but whatever. I am all for this. I am all for this feud. I am all for this rematch. And I think Hangman has to take the W when it happens, right? He has to. But.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I think he needs it more than Moxley.
Yeah.
Especially because Moxley never got that damn vacation.
He's never going to.
I know, poor guy. So, but yeah, I think, Moxley, it's impossible for Moxley to cool off. Like, it's literally impossible. I mean, he was in a tag team with Eddie Kingston for a while and was still red hot. So, like you said, Hangman did kind of fall by the wayside post losing his title. So, I think a win here, propels him further. I think at some point he probably ends up facing MJF for the title.
Who?
Hangman. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. Yay, all my favorites get to lose to MJF.
Everybody finna lose to MJF. Just get over it now.
2024 can't come fast enough because I don't want to deal with a year of MJF as champion.
2024, like going into that year, is going to be like this past season with Aaron Judge. Hello, Gato. It's going to be like this past season with Aaron Judge, where he's just going to like absolutely rake MJF is. And then his contract's going to come up and there's just going to be like so much money being thrown at him and no one's going to know where he's going. And I'm sure somebody's going to pull a John Heyman and tweet that like MKF is going to WWE. And it's just, it's going to be great. All right, let's get to the most important part of the night.
Oof.
This was after the Britt Baker backstage interview. We had Chris Jericho versus the aforementioned jobber, Action Andretti. So, Jericho obviously dominated the early portion of this match. And the crowd was really into this, even from the beginning. There were "you tapped out" chants early, and then
good crowd overall tonight.
Yeah,
I'll just point that out.
Yeah, as we've mentioned. So as the match continues, we start getting a "Let's Go Jobber" chant, right? And right as it starts to really break out, Jericho hits a code breaker, and we all go, "Okay, this is over." 1, 2, Andretti kicks out. The crowd goes fucking bananas. Jericho is just in utter disbelief, and they go to commercial, picture in picture, but still. So all of a sudden, Jericho now has a picture-in-picture match with a jobber, which is crazy enough on its own. We come back, Jericho's still dominating, but eventually, this kid Andretti, excuse me, not Andrade. God.
You could just say Action.
Yeah.
Just say Action.
I'm Italian. I can fucking say Andretti. All right. He finally starts to get some offense in. Jericho goes down. So this kid goes up for a split-legged moonsault, but Jericho gets the knees up. So Jericho then gets up, lines up for a Judas effect. Andretti ducks it, sends Jericho to the outside, and then hits a split-legged moonsault to the floor.
Yep.
From the ropes. So he rolls Jericho back into the ring, goes for a springboard, something or other, but Jericho catches him and starts to set him up for the walls. Andretti counters that into a roll-up. Jericho kicks out, and then Andretti hits a running shooting star press, and holy fuck, the kid pinned him clean. What in the ever-living fuck just happened? Action Andretti, some no-name kid, comes out, has honestly a really fucking good match with Chris Jericho. The kid's got he's got some ups, and he's seriously athletic. He comes out, he beats Chris Jericho in the most stunning upset since the 1-2-3 kid.
Right.
And shortly thereafter, Tony Khan announced him as All Elite. And later in the show, we see Jericho just destroying everything backstage on his way back to his locker room. James, what the fuck happened?
I love this so much. I know a lot of people, yourself included, have compared this to the 1-2-3 kid upset on Razor Ramon. I'll be honest, I got a different memory out of this. It reminded me when John Cena I Kurt Angle on SmackDown in his debut. Now, granted, Cena lost that match. I know. But we had known who the 1-2-3 kid was before the match with Razor Ramon.
Fair.
He kept wrestling as different names, and then this win over Ramon was his finally the kid wins the match. Here, we're being introduced to this kid who we're just assuming is going to lose. We're just assuming is going to be a jobber.
They didn't even get his cry on right. They fucking put Jericho's cry on for him.
There's a part of me that really wants to believe that was on purpose. To just really highlight how unimportant this kid was. But man, I loved it. And it was great because the kid, don't get me wrong, the kid looked good in the ring. He did things that I certainly could never do, but he also looked a little clunky. You know, he didn't look super smooth. It didn't look like everything was coming naturally. It looked like he was nervous. It looked like he was thinking about his next move. And that's perfect. That's perfect. I know you and I criticize Brian, well, everybody here on the pod and everyone on the internet criticizes Bryan Danielson's booking. Because Bryan Danielson, he's a guy who loves wrestling with the younger talent, right? That's the idea. Bryan Danielson loves working with the younger talent, and he wants to help elevate them. The reality is, so does Chris Jericho. Jericho loves working with young talent. Jericho loves putting talent over.
There was the match with Jungle Boy, remember? I think that was like the first year of AEW.
Exactly. But the thing that Jericho gets right, that Bryan can't bring himself to do, is he beats people along the way. That way, when Jericho loses, it feels like a big deal. If this kid beat Bryan tonight, I would be thinking, of course, Bryan loses another match. But because he beat Jericho tonight, oh my God, this kid beat the guy who beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night. That feels huge to me, and I loved it. I loved it. This kid, even if he doesn't have a good career after this, even if he sucks for the rest of his career, he could say, on my first televised match, I beat the first ever undisputed champion of professional wrestling, Chris Jericho.
He beat the Ocho.
He beat the Ocho. I'm not going to do it the way he does it. I'm doing it the right way.
Yeah, this feels way better than this.
Thank you. Thank you. Nonsense. But
maybe somebody else does this and throws fours up, and that's why he's not doing it. But
I am very excited to see what comes next for Action. I am very excited to learn more about him, who he is, how old he is. I don't know if they said how old he was. I am invested now in this kid. And as a 30-year-old fan, I feel the way I did when I was a little kid, amazed at John Cena debuting against Kurt Angle.
Screaming ruthless aggression at him.
Ruthless aggression. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for Action.
So am I. I'm really excited for this kid. It was awesome. The crowd being behind him only added so much more to this.
Yep.
And honestly, I can't really add much more to what you said about him. I am looking at Jericho now because I am seeing the beginnings of what could be a brilliant storyline. Because
he's gonna put on 50 to 60 to 70 pounds. He's gonna become fat and depressed. Oh wait, different company, but still.
What is that? The Bobby Lashley one? I was gonna say, yeah, or the Thor, depending on how you want to look at it. No, but obviously he just lost his Ring of Honor title, something that he had been, he'd been so proud of, destroying the legacy of Ring of Honor and building the Ring of Jericho era and becoming arguably one of the greatest Ring of Honor champions ever. I mean, at least that's what they were saying on television. I'm sure you have your thoughts about that, being, our resident Ring of Honor expert. But so you have him lose this title, which had become such a big part of his identity. He's the Ocho, and now he doesn't have numero Ocho anymore. And he's like, I got to tune up for my rematch. I'm going to go beat this random ass kid. No problem. And now he loses to this random ass kid. And now the spiral is going to really start. And it's going to be fun to watch. And I imagine this is where your theory comes in, that he's not going to end up facing Claudio for the for the Ring of Honor.
I mean, how do you justify it? He just lost to this kid. How do you justify him going for a world title? And even beyond that, I could just see him becoming so obsessed with what just happened that he lost, that he cares way more about avenging that loss than he does going for the title.
It would be kind of crazy if you lost to the kid again.
I know I said Cena, make it a Shelton Benjamin moment. Have him beat Triple H 3 times in a row on Monday Night Raw. Have him beat Jericho 3 times in a row on Dynamite. Just do it. Go all the way with this kid.
Yeah, and just let Jericho spiral. I think just completely becoming this wreck.
And then have Daniel Garcia beat the kid.
Oh, good shout.
You're welcome,
and easily too, right?
Right? Just make him tap out within 30 seconds.
Yeah, or I was gonna say maybe under under 5 minutes, but yeah, 30 seconds works too. I guess it is under 5 minutes. Yeah, no, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I don't feel like we've seen a truly mental. Yeah, I don't know. You're stealing Danny's gimmick. I feel like we haven't seen a truly mentally broken Jericho in a while.
Yeah. So
this is going to be fun, especially that he has all this insulation around him in the JAS. But, and he's the leader of these people, and they're going to start watching him fall apart. Where do they all go from the, like you said, if Garcia beats this kid after Jericho loses to him a couple of times, or even just the one time, how does that affect Jericho's relationship with Garcia? Where does 2.0 fit in? Hager, Sammy. I mean, Hager's loyal to him, but if Hager starts seeing him being weak, does he want to stick with Jericho? Do any of these guys want to stick with a weak Chris Jericho? So you can not only see Jericho falling apart, but the JAS falling apart around him as well. I'm excited for this.
This was the most exciting thing to come out of the show, beyond just the surprise of it. It's a new direction for Jericho, which is great considering we've been dealing with the BCC for the last 80 billion years.
It certainly feels like that. And just I know he's the king of reinvention, but a new direction for him, I don't think we've seen. So this is going to be awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. Well done, Tony Khan. Well done, Jericho. I'm sure he probably had a big hand in this as well. It's going to be lit. I did want to just jump into the chat for a second. Shout out Chad, clearing up something from earlier. Apparently, there's a new talent in NXT called Lyra Valkyria. So that's why they haven't done Valkyrie. I don't know if I said that name for Sarah Logan, because they don't want to confuse people, which does make sense.
There's also Taya Valkyrie in Impact.
Yep. Yeah. And also, yes, Chad, we will leave Andrade wherever the fuck he's at. I'm pretty sure he's on the on the injured reserve at the moment. So
Well,
probably won't be seeing him for a very long time. So James, like we've been saying, despite our bitching, this was a really good show. Obviously
Yes.
highlighted by Jericho Andrade. The main event match was cool. And this was the first show, excuse me, in the post. I'm going to start calling this the post Ring of Honor era. I know Ring of Honor guys showed up, and I know some of the fallout from Final Battle is, still taking place. But for the most part, we're not having Ring of Honor storylines congest the show.
Yeah.
And I thought it ran very, very smoothly tonight. And it didn't feel crowded, I think is the word I'm looking for.
The flow of the night was very good. The matches were pretty fresh, I don't think that, other than the best of 7 series, I don't think there is a match that we've seen.
At least not for a while. Yeah. Because I know obviously Ty and Ruby was a rematch, but I don't even know if that was a rematch from a one-on-one match. I think when Ty broke Ruby's nose, it was the mixed tag. So I don't even know if that might have been a first-time match, even though they had seen each other in the ring before.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of, you're right, a lot of matches we haven't really seen outside of the Elite and Death Triangle. And quite frankly, there weren't too many, I don't think. It was 1, 2, I know this is terrible radio, 3, which was a squash with the House of Black, 4, 5. Oh, there's 6 matches. That's a pretty good card.
And I think a big thing too.
But they got a lot done.
They did. And not a lot of Ring of Honor presence.
Yeah.
They addressed what happened at Final Battle. There were guys who were associated with Ring of Honor, like Brian Cage, Jericho, but none of it felt like it was Ring of Honor centric.
Yeah.
So this good direction for AEW tonight.
And that's what I think I meant by it not being crowded. I think because of all the Ring of Honor stuff, like they've been kind of forcing guys into the show.
Yeah.
Just to get them on TV and get them exposure, especially with the lead up to Final Battle, which made sense. But now, like, it's just like, okay, these people are in a feud. They have a segment together. We move on. Instead of, oh, these people are in a feud, but then there's also like the side feud with these Ring of Honor people. So we have to have them come down. And then like the people they're feuding for Ring of Honor also come down. And all of a sudden there's like fucking 10 factions in the ring at the same time. It's like, okay, relax. We didn't have that. For the most part, everything was very straightforward. Absolutely. A plus B equals feud. And it was nice. It was, sometimes you just kind of need to present things as they are instead of, cross-contaminating everything, despite the fact we do like when, old alliances and old feuds pop up and people end up, doing their thing and continuity is maintained. But when you're doing it every segment just for the sake of getting people on the show, it gets frustrated. And like I said, it gets crowded. So I think I'm going to be happy with the way things are going now. I'm going to miss some of the Ring of Honor people being on television, but you know what? I'll go watch Ring of Honor then. And that's what it's there for. Which
we'll talk about on the episode this week.
Yes. So be sure to like and subscribe to the Mark It Down podcast. Like James said, we'll be talking about the Ring of Honor news this week. We'll also be talking about the Randy Rose news, which came out earlier today. So
did you say Randy Rose?
No, I said Mandy Rose. I just kind of said it with a little bit of a.
I'm tired, people. I'm tired.
So yeah, like I said, be sure to subscribe, and that episode will be out in the next couple of days, so you can hear us talk all about that. Check out all of our social media stuff. It's in the description below. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are all in the description. So go check us out there as well. So for James Santi, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And we'll catch you here next week on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good night, everyone. You don't have to like stay like that the entire time, right?
I'm going to.
The good old freeze.